Hello, and welcome to Connecting with the Stars with Mary Edwards. And I'm here with a special, beautiful guest, inside and out, Geraldine Orozco. Good to see you, Geraldine.
Hi, Mary. It's such a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me once again.
Well, it's really a treat, and I think because you have been on this a couple of times, and people know you anyway. If you'd like to say a few things about yourself, please go ahead. But today we're going to talk about different. Geraldine's going to share more information about ETs and hybrids, which she could talk about for 3,000 hours straight because you are, and we are both ETs and hybrids. So this will be wonderful. So anyway, I'll just let you dive in and start sharing whatever you'd like to share today. So nice to see you again, as always.
Here, thank you so much. My name is Geraldine Orozco. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist and I specialize in something called epigenetic psychotherapy. And I have a large support group called Hybrid Mother, in which we connect with all kinds of ET experiencers, ET and interdimensional experiencers from around the world. So, our primary objective is to connect with one another and to share the experiences in order to be able to recall memories of contact and get clear understanding, try to understand what's going on, what's the phenomena about, how we connect with certain beings, why we experience certain things. And it's a really fun and amazing group of people. So that's a little bit about me.
Right. Well, it's always interesting because people still, even though, we can see ETs and UFOs and UAPs all over the place on TV and on iPhones all over the world now. And people still are confused about the reality of it. And you and I both know that it is real. And thank goodness for this time on the planet right now where things are opening up and people are seeing it, and the military and the government are admitting it. So the disclosure really is coming out, but we know, you know better than anybody, and I know now too because I'm coming into this more the last couple of years myself, that it's still a tricky subject to discuss, and particularly the hybridization that I have. We both have hybrid children, and I know it's scary for people to discuss because it touches on culture and religion and many different things, but you've always described it so beautifully and have so much experience. I just look forward to whatever you want to share it with people today, because it is millions of people have experienced all these things. And we are at a time now where we are in a renaissance and an awakening time. And thank goodness people are really coming out of the ET closet, like myself and more of us, to just share our stories. All of our stories are different. People can believe me or not. I know I've experienced these since I was 5 years old and been off planet a lot and done a lot of different things that I'm still just now really waking up myself to. And it's tricky to discuss with people because it's still foreign to many people, as we know. So anyway,
Yeah.
I let you just take this from here because it needs to really be described and understood. We are connecting with inner and outer space on Earth and beyond, and the more we can educate each other and our children and all people, it'll take some of the fear and disclose some of the real beauty that the ET shares with us, the caring and the loving and the experiences that I've been guided by my whole life. Finally, I realized, and I didn't in the beginning, it sort of freaked me out too when I was 5 and 6. But you say it so beautifully and you understand it so beautifully. So please just continue on for the rest of this for a while, as much as you like, because you really understand it really more than I think almost anybody on the planet. And I really admire that. And that's why we're here today. So take it away.
Thank you very much, Mary. The hybridization program, it is a very complex topic, but before we even touch that topic, I want to give an overview in regards to what we are as human beings and what this human experience is really about. Because in order to begin to stretch the brain and the mind and our concepts, which are very much constructed by our ways of thinking in the world and what we think is acceptable, all of those belief systems are limiting and hiding, in a sense, constricting the ability for the human to understand its own true potential and its own purpose. We as a human race are energy. We are light. We are frequency. And each human soul that incarnates and attaches into this physical vessel that becomes a fractal is designed to experience, it's designed and encoded genetically from its DNA blueprint to experience all of the things it's going to experience in this three-dimensional physical realm. But within that experience is the ability for the human, because the human is light and frequency, to experience a certain range of frequencies in this three-dimensional plane, but it also has the ability to access higher ranges of frequency, higher dimensions, and densities of its own expression available through the vessel. So this means that ET contact, in other words, is an inherent part of our human experience. And it hasn't been common knowledge and openly discussed, because then we would have to have the conversation that we are not just physical beings, we are multidimensional. And that's where things start to get a little iffy for people, because they don't know. It's such an unknown realm. And the only thing closest that we know to that is perhaps the paranormal, ghosts. We might be able to accept grandma comes into our space, sends us a message, leaves us a card, shows up as a butterfly. We have these connections that we know we can feel, and that's one step into this field of dimensions and this paranormal. But to move beyond that is a stretch that human has to make, and it's only available to the human that begins to cultivate certain faculties within them of higher vision. So, intuition and the activation of their five senses in order to begin to access these higher dimensional information. So, most humans that are born on Earth are encoded with DNA. And a lot of our DNA, only 2% of DNA writes the protein that creates the physical body. The rest of that is something that is intelligently self organized, and it's what we call the morphogenetic field, but it interconnects us to all organisms on this planet, animal kingdom, bird kingdom, every species that we share this planet with. But in that code also is interdimensional aspects from this unseen instruction manual that creates the information that forms this physical body. And it's within that realm that we begin to access data and information that connects us to past lives, which are simultaneous fragments of ourselves, also ET beings, star seed lineages of ourselves. And what we discover as we look at the human evolution, going back to the origin of time, is that we actually have been descendants and a product through our genetic lineage of these beings in which we're coexisting multidimensionally. We literally have encoded in our DNA these star lineages that make up who we are. How do we know this? Well, over the study of hundreds of ET contactees, what we discover is that ET contact runs in the family. It is something just like collective trauma, just like illnesses are passed down genetically. This is a part of information and data that is available to the human through their DNA. And we know that because the mother will experience similar experiences, the father will experience, so on and so forth, going down the ancestral lineage until we go all the way back to our ancestors, where our ancestors are also painting on the walls contact and interaction with these interdimensional beings through ancient civilizations around the world. And if we look at our origin genetically, we do have one origin point in which in Mesopotamia, or in many origin points before that, because we evolve cyclically on this planet, we discovered that there is a jump in our genetic code from the apes, from the orangutans to the human, which have increasingly sped up the evolution of mankind, in which consciousness comes into play and these higher logic and faculties that are available to this modern human. And these jumps in our genetic data are actually continuously occurring with every cycle that we share collectively on this earth. So, through history, every human is equipped with information, data that will help pull forward humanity because more DNA is activated naturally as a part of the design of the organism that needs to match its environment because the environment is also evolving. So, that being said, this kind of natural kind of um, you can say ascension in a sense because the rate in which this entire realm is oscillating at heightens and heightens to its highest point of evolution. And we know that because when we look back historically at all of these ancient cultures, we see a pattern. They all reach the highest point of technology or their civilization point. Technology not only being physical, scientific technology, but also internal technology. There seems to be a reset. And so, right now in our human race, we're actually experiencing that reaching of that heightened point. And we can feel this because we are merging with our multidimensional awareness. So more people are being aware of their ET contact. More people are having awareness of how it runs in their families. Their children are having contact and they're trying to figure out what's going on. So to add another layer to this, how this system sustains itself is through the law of three, which means procreation. To create life, we have to create more humans in order to populate this earth. That's our belief system. And we do that because the same amount of humans that are leaving are also coming in, right? We have this certain balance to maintain on this organism, and this kind of law of creation is occurring in many different ways. The way we speak, the way we intend, we're also creating. We're creating the third because it's the language of frequency. In the most densest level, we create the human. The mother, the father come together, they create the child. So, this process of co creation and procreation is essentially the sustainability of this organism, but it also occurs in these interdimensional realms in which the utilization of our base data code, DNA, is combined with other species or other frequencies that allow the DNA genetic code to expand its reach and its availability. Every new hybrid that is created has an expanded database of DNA that allows them through the DNA to access all of these lineages, both terrestrial and interdimensional. It's all part of this genetic makeup that there is available to the human experience. So they're able to access that. And then we have the star seeds. So we have humans that are connecting with Arcturians, Pleiadians. They have such vivid memories at the age of 6 of living on this different planet, interacting with these beings, understanding at depth the culture, the sciences, and the physics of this realm, which, it's quite foreign to us, but allows us to understand even our own ignorance of our own realm. So these higher intelligences that are available through our body help us understand that we are very much interdimensional. So the hybridization program and hybrids essentially um, are are created by a mechanism of the law of creation. There are certain laws in how we create. The most healthiest way for the organism to thrive is when it comes into its most expansive state, when its heart is in a state of coherence, when its faculties and higher faculties are open and expanded. It becomes this incredible vessel of generation and cultivation of life force. And how the human reaches that highest potential health vitality rate is by the cultivation of its heart center in union with its non-physical aspect, the physical and the non-physical. So what happens is that this activates DNA, and it's actually through the heart, through unconditional love. What is love? Love is freedom, the freedom to express, the freedom to co-create, the freedom to manifest and experience. And any time that this love is inverted into an opposite way of managing energy and it becomes parasitic, the exchange between ourselves and another becomes imbalanced. So, in the hybridization program, in these creation activities, there is also elements of parasitism in which there is the imposition of free will done on the human in a way. And how that happens is that when the human is dormant and unconscious and unaware of themselves, they become very available to parasitism, and contribute to that because of their own parasitism within themselves. So this is important to understand because in the hybridization program, a lot of people tend to feel that they are victimized as a result of these experiences. And there is a very profound chain of cause and effect and laws and order in the universe. When we embody our deepest integration, our highest integration, we embody an expansive state of co-creation that is conscious. When we do the opposite of that, we become counter creative and it becomes unconscious co creation. So anything that they're not aware of is going to feel like a parasitism exchange, like a parasitized exchange. So this is important in the hybridization program. And we can move out of difficult or traumatic experiences. We can heal from those traumatic experiences by understanding these laws. Now, the hybridization program from a person, we talked about this before. I did a whole presentation on it for you here, I think, right?
Mhm.
Um, is essentially learning how to co create and how to manifest in a way that is in alignment with your highest expression. What does that mean? It means that you would have to know your purpose and your role. It means that you would have to understand what your role is. And in order to understand that, the highest form of functioning for the human is love, is truth, is freedom. So, how does someone pick morally what is in alignment for their best co-creation? Um, the way that we unite is very important. When a man and a woman come together, that moment where the insemination occurs is a powerful explosion of life force, and it is encoded with the intention of both parents. So, this is really important because when this union is done from a place of fear or anxiety or resistance or anger or violence in any way, what is created is encoded with that information and it immediately defines the organism that's going to be created. So, some of these organisms and hybrids that are created are essentially designed in a way that are born in a state of parasitism. Just like we, when we are born on this planet into families that are very, very full of trauma and sorrow and pain, we also grow up in that environment. But every organism in this universe, human, hybrid, interdimensional, is is experiencing that evolution from the lowest state to the highest point of its creation. That's the opportunity. And we're here to experience that through vibrational frequency, which are the emotions. So hybrids have an incredible ability to activate DNA, which means they have an access into these interdimensional realms and in connection with these different species. So I'll stop right there and just check in. Like, did you have any questions or did you want to go in any specific direction?
No, I love that you're explaining this so beautifully, and it's always the choice of fear or love. We have choices,
Yeah.
and and until you get involved with this more, when I was a child, you were a child, we learned these things, and now because I was going, why did I have this experience at age 5, and they were taking eggs out of my tummy, and then why did I see an angel? Why did I see ghosts? Why did I have a near-death experience? So we start putting the pieces of the puzzle together when we understand, if we have the courage to ask those questions,
Right.
and if we really want to understand the possibilities of what were these really memories that I had. I mean, you can't make this up. I mean, we don't make this up, but we want to understand why, if we want to understand how the universe really works. So how you describe it is, and I have earth children and I have hybrid children, and to me, I remember exactly what you're saying. My two children were born of love, and it took me a while to understand my hybrid children, and I know now over time, like 50 years, I've been learning about all these things, and now everything's come to the surface way more over the last few years since I've dived into this. But it is you explain it beautifully. So I just suggest that you keep going on, because you are going step by step, understanding the process in such a loving way. And it is all about love. And it's what mankind does. We always want to keep moving forward. We do. It's in our DNA of all of us to keep moving forward, to go west. Now we're going off planet. Now we want to go into different dimensions. And for, trying to explain that to people just recently, the last couple of years for me has been really complicated, because I don't understand. You've been in this for a long time, and it is tricky to understand the process of all of it, because it's complicated. It's like one big network of energy. And I've always, since I was born, I knew that everything was time and space and energy. Somehow I got that. And now I've known that his father took him on a craft at age 5. His grandfather took her, all the way back 94 generations. That's all I've been completely obsessed by really my whole life. In the last couple of years is trying to track it down. And now that I've spoken to my dad and my mom, and they said, oh yes, we're sorry we couldn't talk to you about this, but we knew you were doing art and design and architecture, and we knew you'd take it a step further. I mean, I've just heard this in the last couple of months. It was like, why didn't you tell me any of this while you were both alive? That would have made me not feel so crazy and not feel so completely confused and shut down most of my life, because I was afraid to even talk about this. So I think what you're explaining too is just this, the awareness step by step does come. It takes a long time, and we're only really allowed, I keep learning from some of my star family, that I'm only allowed to learn certain bits and pieces along the way, because it would have been too overwhelming if I'd learned this all in one fell swoop. So it's beautiful how that actually is really set up. And of course, now we are at this time in 26,000 years that we are going, and we are in the age of Aquarius. All the opportunities, everything is lining up for all of us to understand, if we so want to, or, and all these incredible children are being born. We're all waking up. I've just been waking up in the last couple of years, and I'm 70. It's like, oh my God. And people told me that, readers told me that for 50 years. And I thought, oh my God, I'm going to be so old. I'll be in an old folks home by then. Well, no, I'm just starting. So the information is incredible, and it's beautiful. And man has always wanted to explore other civilizations. So, if you take your blinders off and are open to these possibilities and listen to all the people that are talking about all their different experiences, you might go, oh yeah, like with you talking, or with me a little bit, just saying, I'm just learning this year, that my family was involved with it for back 94 generations, from 0 AD, from the beginning. And I went, oh my gosh, my life would have been so different. But I'm so grateful that I've been digging through, asking the questions that have not been comfortable and sharing it with people. But I feel freedom for the first time in my life. And when Metatron told me last week that I am here to spread love, I'm here to help others, which I've always known I was, but I didn't really get why I was always doing art and design and architecture and interiors and space and spaces for NASA, for thousands of people here. Now I'm doing it off planet forever. I'm so grateful that I had the courage to ask, and to keep asking all different types of people, from you to doing regressions to doing this and that, because I am blown away by what I am. And I'm loving sharing these stories now, because we all want to learn at whatever stage we're at. And I'm just now starting this stage. And I've already learned a lot, actually, in the last couple of years, how hard I've been working on it. I just had to stop everything. And it's been one big, beautiful flow. I never really tried to do anything other than I followed what I loved, and I followed my love of working with people and teaching, and on planet and off planet. And another friend of mine saw me teaching in the Pleiades a couple of weeks ago in a hologram with a book. And I did a little book with Barbara Lamb the last couple of years. And my friend, a different person, said, oh, I saw you teaching last night. You bumped into another reading with me, and I saw you teaching twirling around in a circle in the Pleiades. And I was like, yay, thank you. So to me, that was a validation that I wasn't able to see myself. So
Mhm.
anyway, continue on, but it just every day now. I mean, the last year, the last few months, the last few weeks, it's like every day I'm getting more and more information because I'm asking for it and I'm open to it. And I want to spread positive learning about it too for people like me who are just now waking up, because that's the only way we learn. And I love that you have been so in so many different areas, from self-love to the hybridization to being a mother, mom hybrid like I am, to many children. It's really incredible. And I mean, I'm so grateful for it all now, where I was sort of freaked out about it for on and off for a long time, because I
Mhm.
didn't know how it was all part of consciousness and growth
Right.
and change and shifting and frequency. Yeah, we went through frequency. Now it's consciousness. And from Ray Hernandez to you and all different people, we're realizing it's all one. I mean, we know it's all one big connection, but people are really explaining it more now, how it's all interwoven. So whatever the experience is, whether it's having an NDE or whatever, all the things I've been through, it's all the same thing. And it's here to help us. And as we choose to elevate and lift ourselves and others up in the process, we get more helped. I mean, I know I've been helped and groomed for this forever, but it just keeps getting better and more interesting and more fun. And it hasn't been creepy to me for a few years now, and I just didn't understand it before. So your description of this, and please continue on now, but it is whatever stage we're at, we just need to find people that we can trust to talk about this with. And I know you do that beautifully, like every day. And I'm doing it a lot more too, teaching mental health to adults, and all the stress that's on the planet. We all have stress. We all come from basically dysfunctional families. And I think once I finally, because I was so creeped up anything negative my whole life, I'm so hypersensitive. I'm sensitive to light and sound and energy, and I can hear people crying 5 blocks away. I hear people on the top floor of my 10-story building here. Now that I understand that this is really who I am and what makes it better for me to do the work that I do with space and spaces and with helping people, is I understand and appreciate it now, instead of shying away from it and hiding out in myself forever, going out and doing work and contributing to the community, of course. But now I have this freedom of love and beauty and connection of inner outer space, and the incredible vastness of this incredible universe that we are in at this time. And that's why we're all here now. And so it's really a gift. It's really an opportunity for us to just even do more in the communities in our lives to help others grow and change and ignite whatever it is, because everybody has a story, everybody plays a part in this. I was embarrassed sort of the first couple few years. I'm only now going, oh, okay, well, that's okay. I guess I'm just doing what I'm supposed to be doing, because that's what I've done my whole life with wellness interiors anyway. And now it has been expanding, and I've been doing it for a long time. So just get over yourself and just talk about it, and know that it's helping a lot of people, because it is, one day at a time, one person at a time, one conversation like this at a time. That's just the only way we can grow, is to share and find safe people to talk to who will listen and share like what you're sharing right now. So,
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you so much, Mary, for sharing that. I also think that each hybrid, each generation, like you, because you're a star seed, you came into your family and you had the courage to step outside of the box and question these things. And those kinds of pioneer courageous moves are exactly what all humans need to do at this time because we're kind of breaking patterns of indoctrination, suppression, separation, fear programs that we have been raised and groomed into as a child, just based on the nature of this reality that we call the reality, which you can say is like a holographic experience, such as a matrix. But when we begin to this growing and this learning process can be very scary for a lot of people because we have been so disconnected from our innate blueprint, which is the connection to the all in that state of love and freedom, that we don't even know what that feels like. And every hybrid that is born, human, you, me, and the interdimensional hybrids that exist, are encoded genetically in order to bring higher bands of frequency through their DNA. What is the DNA? It expresses to write the protein. It creates all of the subconscious and stores all of the subconscious programs that we inherit generationally. So you are like a computing system of information, and you access that information based on the choices that you make, which provide you with experiences that trigger those memories to arise. So, for many of us, most of our life experiences have been in survival, have been in that disconnect, and very much entangled in the physical realm. So, when we begin to move outside of that, we literally have to become pioneers and teach ourselves what it means to love, what it means to be peaceful, what it means to be connected, interconnected, to live in a state of truth. So these are new things that we have to teach the physical body, but which are inherent to us, and they are in alignment with the natural laws of this universe of unity. And it's in that vibrational frequency that the human can begin to access these realms of consciousness, these higher dimensional beings that are operating in these higher levels. If we are resonant with low vibrational frequency, a lot of our interaction will be imbalanced exchanges, just the way that we're experiencing them here on Earth. We give more than we receive, we take more than we give, these kinds of unconscious behaviors. So that's why our frequency and our awareness and the inner work, shadow work that we're doing plays a role in the kind of interdimensional contact that we have. It is my humble opinion that I feel that everyone should aim into activating their faculties in order to access their information, just like you're doing. You're discovering every day something new, because this is the process of remembering. The
Mhm.
human has to remember who they are. And what you discover at the other side of that allows you to embody freedom, because you understand that you're not defined by your upbringing. The stories of your life don't define you. The traumas that you've experienced don't define you. The pain and the suffering, the judgment towards yourself does not define you. And not even who you think you are, because you begin to understand you are many things. You access your past lives, simultaneous aspects of yourself, and they begin to open up a new understanding of cyclical patterns that we're kind of living through and repeating. And the opportunities that are available to us are to be conscious in the present moment enough to break those cyclical patterns. And when we enter into these interdimensional realms, we can access our hybrids, and that we have created if we've participated in that creation, in order to reintegrate fractalizations of ourselves. Now, the hybridization program, um, a lot of the agreements that humans make to do these hybrids are not going to be in your awareness. It's something that we have to dig very deep, that exists in parallel aspects of ourselves that understand why they're participating in those programs. So that's why hypnotherapy can be a really powerful tool in helping to activate the awareness. Most importantly, your access to the subconscious mind. Most of us, because we don't have a lot of meditation practice, it's hard for us to access the subconscious mind and the information there. But through hypnotherapy, we can actually access that and begin to exercise your ability to get into that information. And what we find is that a lot of the hybrids that we participate in making are fractals of our own self that exist in these interdimensional realms, um, living simultaneous lives and accessing information. So some of these hybrids are meant to be on craft, on board craft only. They don't incarnate or they don't live on a planet. Some of them are meant to inhabit planets and other organisms. And some of those hybrids are incarnated into the earth. So we can sometimes create a hybrid interdimensionally, and then that hybrid will then incarnate into um, the soul, into the child that we're going to be birthing here on this planet Earth. So we have this incredible interconnected network of intelligence in which we are learning through our connections and experiences. And the agreements that we make with every soul is something that, it's something that we've been doing for a very long time. And we just remember, we bring those cases into place. Some of these experiences can also be incredibly healing for humans. They can heal through the hybridization program aspects of the body. I know personally myself when I had a contact experience and being inseminated, um, and going through the gestation process, there was a healing effect that when the fetus was removed from the body, I became healed not only from the physical symptoms that were occurring to me, but also emotional and traumas that I had been experiencing up until that moment. So it's almost as if this soul, the hybrid, um, was created to kind of neutralize all of the imbalanced agreements that were created in my life previous to that moment. So it's creation. That's the thing to remember. It's creation. The intention that we put into that creation is what creates that third. So these are some ways that this hybridization program can be productive. Yeah. What
Can
else?
I ask you a question? Well, brings up, I'm gonna call you and we're gonna get it.
Oh, good.
So out of my like 120 children that I have,
Yeah.
I've only spoken to several of them in the Pleiades. So this is just a personal question, but maybe it'll help other people.
Yeah.
I know I have about 25 that are on a craft that are a little too hybridy and too different to come to Earth. I know that since I had 128 or however many there are, that I've had help researching, as I've told you, and others. There are many a third of them are on a craft. 33 are in China, South America, all places I've worked tremendously. It's so, I mean, that's what's really cool. I've been to Peru a lot of times. I've spent a lot of time in China, not in India, and then in South America, and they're all in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. I had my two children in my late 30s, and they're 32 and 34 now. But I did feel pregnant all those years from late teens all the way forever. And that was really weird. But now that you're talking about these different fractals of me, I think that's really, I've always sort of wondered why are there, like, say, a third of them on Earth, a third on craft, and then a third in the Pleiades, Arcturian, who my guides are, who my galactic family are, Pleiadians, Arcturians, Andromedans, Syrians. We all had different lives and different things, but those are who my children are. So for places that I've lived. So I get that, but I don't understand. And I don't know if we have enough time, just even for a few minutes. Are so those are all fractals of me that they obviously merged. We're like a bouillabaisse, you always say, a cocktail of different my eggs with other material. And the father of three of four of these kids, these younger children in the Pleiades that I've actually spoken to on the phone, said, thank you so much. We love your DNA. We love that you go back to sort of kings and queens. We love that you're creative and smart and kind, or whatever I am and my family DNA is. And then we were doing some design work together with the little kids. And he said, up here, we don't, our eggs, we share freely. Two of my cousins just got two more of your eggs, and now they're 2 and 4 years old. And I went, oh, really? That's cool. That's like sort of weird, but that's cool. I get it. So anyway, I keep learning a little bit more and a little bit more about how this all happened. So I don't know if you want to speak to that for a few minutes, because I never had the chance to ask you about it or do a reading with you on that, because
Yeah.
that's really sort of cool that they are much more freely. They want to improve. So what's wrong with that? I mean, they're just trying to pick
Well,
and choose. I guess if it's that easy, then they can pick and choose how they like at what particular time and however they do it. So I don't know how any of that works.
you mean improving like spiritually
Well,
or like through the
they just,
birth of
I mean,
someone?
they liked my DNA, and I didn't have a chance on a few of the calls to say, well, why, how did you get my eggs over somebody else's
Right.
eggs? Or,
Well,
yeah,
that's a complex topic, but I guess the most important takeaway from that is to understand that um, we have free will
yeah,
to the point where we can choose where we allocate our life force. So, including our eggs or semen is life force, it's creative energy.
right.
So, the level of our awareness will allow us to discern where we want to allocate that. Anytime that we are kind of unaware of those exchanges, we have to really take a look at that and say, hold on, how come I'm just giving unconsciously or allowing that to occur? And it really goes into a higher order of things in the level
Mm,
of conscious. It's an invitation to us to wake up consciousness in higher awareness states. And you are, for example, you're already doing that. You're already like awakening on so many dimensional planes, but navigation of those dimensional planes is what really matters. And in order to navigate these realms, we have to become lucid. So the more conscious you become in waking state, the
mhm.
more aware in the present moment, fully aware of yourself, what you're doing, why you're doing what you're doing. That constant programming in your mind and level of awareness and responsibility goes into dream state, because these interdimensional activities are happening when we, most of the time, when we're in dormant state, sleeping, and we begin to access dream time into these higher dimensional realms.
So
That's
you're
where,
saying I'm just back then, not to interrupt, but I get that and I get the free will, but this was when I was 18, 19, 20. I mean, this was like 50, 60 years
yeah,
ago. And
yeah,
I obviously they were all places that I have been and worked and traveled to in England. And my family's from England and came on the Mayflower and created this country. And so a lot of where my kids are is all over London, all over Europe and China and South America, where I've been traveling to and going to. So I know that there must have been free will back when I was 17 and 18 and before I had had even any relationships with anybody because I was
yeah.
pregnant and then losing kids. I mean, I was pregnant and then they disappeared. So I'm just saying back then. So I guess back then it was already being, I was obviously making choices too, because I've obviously had that on the front of my mind for a long time and I haven't had time to investigate that. But so, yeah, so
Right.
it's always about free will, I guess is what you're saying too. I mean,
Well,
back then as a
kind of.
teenager. Okay.
It's a little more complex
Okay.
because we don't really know why we do things that we do, because
Okay.
it depends on our level of awareness, right? So when you were young, you weren't really privy to these programs. You didn't know that that was happening. So there was a level of unconscious awareness to what was happening,
Right.
but a part of you was conscious of what you were doing. Another
Because of all my heritage of so many of my family doing it. My dad was right there with me and part of the hybridization
yeah,
program, my grandfather, my family. So it was all just part of my
yeah.
DNA and part of my
Well,
consciousness then.
one final thing I will say is that our partners, which we can connect with, is by design. And the unions with who we connect with is by resonance. And we do that in the physical. Some of these unions with people we date, I know you were virgin during that time, but when even in the interdimensional realms, the people that you are being connected with to have hybrids, there's a resonance there.
I
There's an
figured that.
agreement.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I
And
guess
so,
that's what I was really asking. Sorry, I didn't ask that
yeah.
very clearly because I
No,
know
no, I was
I
getting
thank
there.
my former English husband for that. And I know my parent, I've talked to my mom and dad about, were they guided to pick who their partners were? And I don't know
Yeah,
that they were. So
right.
it's okay. So
Yeah.
it's all about frequency and still all about really energy, whatever age we're at in our level of consciousness at
Yeah.
that time.
Also, the location that you were living plays a role too, because wherever you're bringing life, they're encoded with that frequency as well. So it goes in your partners, the location, and what you're choosing. All of those three elements play a role in how you're
Right.
co-creating them. Yeah.
Well, when I went to England first, I think at age 10, and I said, I want to marry somebody that's from England. And we
Uh-huh.
went to Stonehenge, and then I started going really young. We were traveling all over the world. And when I went to China, I went, oh my God, I have such a connection here. I would love to have Chinese children. I mean, I mean, sounds pretty crude in the way that I'm saying this. I don't mean to offend anybody, but it was everywhere I went. And I started going to Peru the first time I went was like 38 years ago or 40 years ago with Dr. Jim Duke that I was working on Marin General Hospital with. Anyway, so yes, there were all those points of places that I had a connection with. So I guess
Right.
helping put the pieces that you're just validating a little bit that those
Yeah.
were places that I had been to and I loved and I was fascinated by, and I loved history and I loved the people that I met on all these trips, the people I worked with there.
Yeah.
So really
Awesome.
interesting. Oh my gosh. So I guess we have a few more minutes. How would you like to wrap this sort of up to explain to people, they can contact, I'm sure people know how to contact you, but and maybe you could share some of all the different, the things you can talk to them about anything, right? I mean,
Yeah,
pretty
thank you
much.
so much. Well, if you want to get a DNA reprogramming with me, you can find me at geraldineorozco.com. And if you're an experiencer and you want to join my support group, you can contact hybridmodo.com. Did I say that, Mary?
No, you didn't say that one, but I did
Sorry.
have a DNA with you at reprogramming, and it was really interesting and really good. So I would suggest that. And sorry,
That's
you were just
awesome.
saying the
Thank you
second one.
so much. Yeah, and then on Sundays, I host something called Self Love Sundays. And I also have the support group once a month. I have some really exciting conferences coming up. I'll be at the Biomed Expo on in March 24th to the 25th, and then in San Diego for Portal to Ascension at the Ascension Conference. In May, I'll be in Chicago, May 22nd, and then I'll also going to be in Glastonbury, talking about the UK,
Yes.
next year. So definitely keep a check out to the events on the website. You can register. We'd love to see you. A lot of these are in person, so it'd be awesome to connect with you guys. And that's all. So thank you so much, Mary. It's been an honor.
Well, thank you so much. You are a breath of fresh air, explaining things so carefully and wisely. And that it's
Thank
really
you,
all
Mary.
just, and we're here now for all these reasons. We need to learn from kind,
Yeah.
smart, positive people to understand this. And it's tricky. I mean, I'm still trying to learn how to, the dialogue, the language is still new to me. So I apologize for I speak crudely about it. I will learn. I want to keep learning, as we all should, boy, whatever age we
Yeah.
are. But what a great opportunity to be with you at this
Same
wonderful
here.
time. And I hope people can go in with into the holidays with less judgment, more love and patience, like we all need right now in this wild and wonderful time, very separate time, but also a very positive, changing time, more into the feminine, letting go of some of the patriarchal controls that we've had for my whole life, that's for sure. But it is an awakening time, and it is really beautiful. And I think we all need to just spend more time out in nature and be around kind, smart people that we love, that support us and listen to us when we're coming out with these different stories. And we are all different, and thank God we are. I love the differences that we all share. So thank
Agreed.
you again for your beautiful information and just being you and being so available for everybody to learn and grow.
Thank you so much, Mary, and thank you for everything you're doing. You're amazing, and I love you. And thank you so much. I hope to see you soon.
Yeah, we will. Thank
Okay.
you.